Tensions are flaring ahead of a meeting between President Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The European leader was outraged after NATO members announced there's no timeline for when Ukraine can join the alliance. Jared Hill has the latest from New York. And Jared, hopefully this doesn't affect the meeting too much.
Yes, well, Amanda, this morning we have been seeing Zelenskyy sort of walking back in the tone that outrage. Meanwhile, in addition to the one-on-one that he has scheduled with President Biden, today a new NATO-Ukraine Council is set to meet. It's an effort to bring Ukraine as close as possible to this military alliance without actually joining, at least not for now.
We want to be on the same page with everybody.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, ahead of a one-on-one with President Biden, says he's seeking clarity on when his country will be invited to join NATO. The meeting comes after Zelenskyy criticized NATO's reluctance to give a timetable for when his country could join the alliance, though they did offer a consolation, announcing Ukraine's future is in NATO, but first the country has to make democratic and security sector reforms. NATO's Secretary General called it a major breakthrough.
This will move Ukraine closer to NATO.
Zelenskyy wrote it was absurd to place vague new conditions on Ukraine without setting an actual timetable for NATO membership. The question of when comes as the alliance persuaded Turkey to agree to admit Sweden following an earlier decision to include Finland. But many NATO allies worry doing the same for Ukraine now could bring NATO into direct conflict with Russia.
It's not something that can happen in the middle of a war.
Member countries are increasing shipments of equipment and investing in training Ukrainian pilots to fly F-16 jets. Meanwhile, Russia is watching closely. A spokesman said the agreement to admit Finland and Sweden into NATO is clearly bad for Russia, and his country is prepared to take countermeasures. All right, so after these NATO meetings wrap up later on today in Lithuania, President Biden is set to head to Finland for a meeting with Nordic leaders. Back to you.
A very busy time right now. So, Jared, what else are we expecting out of today?
Yeah, so another thing here, which actually just wrapped up now, is a meeting with leaders of the 7 largest economies, the G7. And here they're going to be announcing a major new long-term commitment to help build the Ukrainian military. Again, one of those efforts to show support for Ukraine, so they say strength against Russia, but not quite allowing Ukraine into this circle, attempting to avoid any need for them to actually engage directly with Russia in this war.